Well, we've worked on this for many months. We came up with what we thought would be the best possible bill, but bill can always be perfected. They will be amended.
So what you just saw there was a very feeble attempt by Canada's Heritage Minister, Stephen Gibault, on a CBC interview, which could be described as disastrous, in an attempt to explain or rationalize the very controversial Bill C-10 that the Liberals have proposed. Now, to put some of this into context, what does this actually mean? How will this affect you? And is this a fundamental breach of our privacy and our rights? I am joined by the one and only Dr. Ann Cavoukian, who is world known for her ability to really break these things down and make sense of our security and our privacy issues. She is the Executive Director, Global Privacy and Security by Design Center. She joins me, and Dr. Ann Cavoukian, it's great to see you, even if it is virtual. And
always a pleasure, Adrienne.
And I know you've been following the ins and outs and machinations of this Bill C-10, which seemed to have just come out of nowhere. You know, some minor amendments made to the CRTC legislation has now blown up to what is arguably one of the biggest conversations this country is having when it comes to our free speech.
Some people have said that C-10 amounts to censorship, because basically what it would do is remove our ability for freedom of speech, freedom of expression, which we value enormously in our wonderful free and open society, at least it was. And the irony is that originally there was a section 4.1, that was included to protect individuals, that this Bill C-10 would not apply to individuals who continue to be free to share information online, on social media, as we always have. But that was removed. And the irony is the NDP who are supporting this bill, Heather McPherson, I heard her on CBC, she said, no, the protections for the content posted by users is still protected.
No.
Problem. And it's wrong. It's just wrong.
It's really surprising to me that the NDP is supporting this, but because I don't look at this as even as a partisan issue. And like, I think that anybody is citizens, anybody, regardless of your left, right, center, nonpartisan, you are the end user. And now these rules and that the Liberals are proposing are going to mean that even this video that people are watching of you and I, Ann, can be now subject to those CRTC regulations. And I think that's part of the point. Like, the individuals in Canada aren't going to drive this home for them until they realize that grandma's cat video that they just uploaded is suddenly now making grandma a publisher, and then is subject to all those rules and that scrutiny. Tell me where in the world this is even happening, other than maybe China. Where is this happening? Why are we doing it here?
People want China here. I mean, you have no idea. There is zero freedom of expression, anything in China. Everything is monitored. Is that really what we want here? This is what drives me crazy, is we have to have freedom of speech, freedom of expression. That's what life is all about. And some people will say, oh, but no. What if there's, you're posting something we don't like? We want it moved. Well, then respond to it and object to it. That's the whole point of freedom, is that there's an exchange of ideas, and we have to be free to express ourselves. And I should tell you, privacy forms the foundation of our freedom. We have to be able to preserve that. So I am truly blown away by this Bill 10. And I should also tell you, highly renowned individuals like Professor Michael Geist, he's the research chair in internet and e-commerce law. He objects to this vehemently, and someone who believes in the law more than anyone. And he is saying, how can they do this? How can they strip us of our protections?
Well, and Michael Geist very recently did an interview and made a very excellent point, which I think is part of getting Canadians to understand just what is at risk here. And that is, we have this new generation of kids and, young adults that communicate in a different way. They communicate through TikTok, through their Instagrams, through their social media platforms, which are all going to be subject to this. So we are suddenly going to put a variation of communication of this generation through a regulation of CRTC. And the point that Dr. Geist was making was, back in the day, maybe our age group, we went through faxes and emails. Whoever thought that CRTC would be subject to scrutinizing those very faxes and emails? And so we're applying that to these various social media platforms. And that is, not only is it scary to me, Anne, but I don't think that this amount of government encroachment has ever been attempted. And I certainly in my time as covering these things, your time as a civil servant in your former days as privacy commissioner, this is an extraordinary overreach by the Trudeau Liberals, in my view.
I couldn't agree more, Adrienne. And what disturbs me the most is that some people are actually supporting this. They don't understand what it means to be stripped of one's ability to express oneself, to share videos with each other, whatever you want to do, that the government is hovering and looking at your shoulder and they're going to illuminate things. It is appalling to me that people don't understand how vital freedom of expression is and freedom of speech. And that's what blows me away. And so what are we going to do now? They returned section, so 4.1 was the section that protected us. They've eliminated that. And the NDP voted in favor of that. They supported it. So what are we going to do now? We have to speak out against this encroachment into our freedom.
And this, coming back to this conversation that you and I are having, Anne, if they don't like this, they can censor us. That is the reality that we're facing right now. Let's go back for a moment and unpack some of the sort of red herrings and the straw man arguments that are being put up. One of which is that this part of the legislation actually forces social media providers to add Canadian content, and it's all about Canadian content. You have to have a certain percentage of CanCon, and that if you don't have this percentage of Canadian content, then somehow you are dismissing that Canadian culture. How do you respond to that?
I think that's ridiculous, that you have to stipulate that they must do this and put it into a bill. C10, CRTC is going to, please, freedom relates to everyone, including, to me, social media. And we should be able to express ourselves, share information. I don't want social media monitoring what I say or we say. And, someone will say, well, what about racist comments? We can object to that. And we have laws against things like that.
That's right.
So it's not like we're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. We're just saying, do not impose this level of unbelievable restriction and eliminate our freedom of expression, which is critical to an open society.
And I don't think that we have lost the battle yet. I think that there's still opportunity for Canadians to have their voice heard and weigh in and tell the government no. And one of the ways to do that, of course, is to contact your MP and say no to Bill C-10.
Yes.
And it's always such a pleasure. I look forward to following up with you when we have, victoriously had the government reverse course on this.
Here's to that. Let's get rid of C-10.
Exactly.
Always.
That's right. Get rid of Bill C-10. Dr. Ann Cavoukian, thank you so much. What do you think? Log on to Facebook and Twitter. Let us know what you think. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.